Welcome to Blink 155, the internet's only Blink 182 podcast, hosted by two best friends, Josiah, yourself, and Sam, me.
We've been doing, in fact, we grew up together on the same street.
Yeah, that's it.
Cul-de-sac.
The same quiet cul-de-sac. We learned to play, in bands together, and
we didn't actually realize that until last week.
That's right. Yeah,
this is one of those like BuzzFeed lost connection stories.
Yeah, or it actually started with I did 23andMe, and it turned out that you are not only my best friend but also my brother, and
yeah,
we didn't realize it, but we have a deep and profound connection that is, spiritual and also blood related. What's the physical version of spiritual? Spiritual and physical? We don't have a physical connection.
Not yet.
No,
we're gonna work on that. That's gonna be one of our exclusives, a live cam.
Yeah, exactly. I think we have to recognize sort of our limitations as just commentators and ultimately become participants. And if that means being cam boys behind the paywall, that's fine with me.
Whatever it takes, honestly.
Yeah, that's the Blink 155 motto.
I want to address something. Speaking of the Blink 155 motto, a lot of people, because this week the band Blink 182, they announced, they announced that they're in the stew cooking up some new tunes. So they're making a new album, and of course, I'm not sure if you know, but we're quite active across all social media platforms in various ways. And
mercifully, I am not aware of this fact. Actually,
yeah, that's nice. I envy you. A lot of people have been messaging saying like, "Oh, what are you going to do? Blink 155, they're recording a new album." And I just want to state explicitly from the very beginning, the concept of this podcast has always been that we're about all of the Blink 182 songs as well as the Plus 44 song 155. We've always said that from the beginning. I don't know why people are so obsessed with this number 155, but that's what this podcast is. We just haven't mentioned the Plus 44 song yet, but that's in the name of the podcast.
Yeah,
that's why it's called that.
I thought that was obvious from the get-go. If you look at the description, whatever you're listening to, whatever pod catching service you're listening to the podcast on right now, if you look at the description, it very clearly states Blink-182 have a number of songs. You and I are going to talk about all of them, and
doesn't matter the number. Yeah,
it doesn't. We're not really concerned with the number, and of course, this podcast is also an homage to the Plus 44 song 155. So again, it's literally right in front of your face. So I also don't understand the confusion, but
I don't even know how many songs Blink-182 has. So I don't know why people I just don't get it.
No.
I don't care if they make more songs. It doesn't matter.
I've never gone on the internet, pulled a list of Blink-182 songs into a spreadsheet, double checked it, sent it to you to check it, counted it up again, wondered at various points whether the interludes had been included or not included.
Realized that it wasn't. Deleted Bored to Death acoustic because that will just be absorbed into that episode. No, none of that happened.
No, that didn't happen. We wondered if we had made a mistake by not including any of the live album cuts, because ultimately some of them do differ in meaningful ways that perhaps warrant 2+ hours of discussion. We have not gone through that process.
None of that has happened. Every single day when we speak to each other on GChat, we say formally, "Good morning, Sam. How do you feel about the song 155 by Plus 44 today, Sam?"
And I would respond, "Josiah, you know I love it. We have a podcast dedicated to it. Why do you ask me this every day?"
Exactly. And I reply, "Who dis?"
Yeah, it's a classic game that we love to engage in.
Because we're brothers.
Exactly. We have that history. So I have not paid much attention to the Blink in the Studio news. I sense maybe you have by just being a little more immersed in the muckety muck of the internet. Is Feldy there? Because I saw one photo. I think a few things got tweeted at me, and I do wonder if somehow I've got it in my head that this is going to be a return to form. because I'm just like, maybe they've listened to the pod, like maybe they heard our scathing critique in last week's episode of the deluxe tracks.
So they're
going to
do all 90s skate punk baggy khakis music.
It's back, man. Like, wouldn't that be sick? I have to imagine it's possible, or else, like, what are we doing with this Plus 44 podcast?
I know, yeah, exactly. To be honest, I haven't really, no, I don't. People just keep sending me the same photo over and over and over again. And thank you for sending me the things that are so obvious. It's like today, I know Friday will be different, but today Kanye's going on a Twitter spree today. And I saw, I think, I forget who tweeted it. Someone tweeted, like, why are you retweeting Kanye, like, as if everyone's not going to see it? It's, like, probably going to be on the news tonight. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like, I know that Tom likes aliens. Like, thank you for sending me that, but I already know that.
Yeah, it's important to amplify, voices like Kanye's that are otherwise unheard. Of course, you did your own sort of special twist. Like, let's not pretend you're above it, because you did Photoshop Feldy into a photo with Kanye.
I'm merciless with it. But even like when someone likes a Beyonce photo on Instagram, it's just like, why don't you just like one of your friends' photos instead? I don't know.
But see, I don't mean to make this personal, but you and I follow, thanks to your influence, let's be honest, many of the same sort of punk meme accounts on Instagram, and I never like them. Like, I've never liked a meme account because it just seems weird. Like, I'll like my friends, accomplishments, but to just acknowledge that I found something humorous with that double tap, I can't handle it. And I often see that those photos have been liked by you, Josiah.
Oh, yeah. Well, liking a meme is totally different. I'm talking like when it has like 100 million likes on it. Really, do you think you need to add like fire emojis to it? Like, is that really going to make a difference?
I mean, maybe Beyonce appreciates it. I think everyone kind of needs their tires pumped from time to time.
Fair.
So I don't know. Like,
so how are you gonna do this one today?
It felt like that was the time to happen. Okay, here's sort of what I've been workshopping on my way home. Check this out.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Josiah, I hate
Is this going to be about fentanyl?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I was going too dark for you. I didn't realize that you were actually.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was trying to figure out how to do it, but I was like, Toronto's been having a tough time, like many cities, with overdoses. People buying party drugs, and they have Fentoozler. Like, I couldn't figure it out.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's so bad.
It's
yeah,
like
there was no.
It's
way
like
to do
if fentanyl existed in the era of the first Batman live action TV series, the bad guy drug dealer would be named the Fentoozler.
Okay, see, I feel like you should do the.
Well, actually, Sam, now that I'm glad that you've mentioned that, because do you actually know how to pronounce this word?
No, and that's the other reason that I decided to cut it when I cut it, because it freed me from having to sort of mumble my way through the title, which is sort of like, it reminds me of being in like a meeting with someone and they've been introduced to you, and an hour later you're like, is their name Steve or is it Chris? Like, especially like that if you're just meeting like a Steve or a Chris type guy. I never
just some
know.
Like fucking forgettable glass of water of a human being.
Yeah, exactly. And I just mutter my way through. I'm like, hey, here we go. Yep.
Oh God. Well, in my extensive note taking that I did today, I found on easypronounce.com they have a video that explains how to pronounce it. So I'll just play. So we can. These are the official pronunciations. So I'll just play them for you now before we get off on the wrong foot.
No, good.
I should probably unmute my computer first.
That's the kind of professionalism that people don't quite pay us enough for.
I agree.
Fentoozler. Fantasize.
Fentoozler.
I'm going to go with fantasize.
Yeah, me too.
That's the one I've decided to orient to.
Yeah. So
what is it,
let's talk about fantasize.
Let's talk about fantasize, the third song from Cheshire Cat. This was the first surprise to me, was like realizing that this is the third song on Cheshire Cat, because you have two of the sort of biggest and best early Blink songs off the top. You've got Carousel, you've got M&M's, like still in the live set, serious jams. And then this feels like a very forgettable old Blink song, and yet it comes like it's got a strong lead in. Like this is like a
I thought you were saying a new variation on "It Fucks." Like it comes.
No, I'm gonna
fantasize comes.
It fantasizes.
Well, I wonder if this, like, if you, it is pretty weird to start this album with Carousel and M&M's, and then, I mean, I still like a lot of the rest of it, but it's kind of just the two hits are right off the top. I wonder if that was just some fat Cheshire cat at the label putting all the hits at the start.
Yeah, I think it's like not even worth spreading it out, just sort of front load it, because I was listening to Cheshire Cat on the way home because it's raining right now in Toronto, so I didn't want to take my phone out and skip around. So I just was listening to the whole album, and I was like, man, a lot of this, and makes me feel bad saying this, but it's promising, and the Fentoozler himself is part of that, where there's like a couple of really fun ideas in this song, and mostly it's like I don't care. Like it's already kind of gone from my brain. Okay.
All right. Well, first I want to say I love the word Fentoozler, and I can't really find any roots of it anywhere other than this song, and I feel like it's either like very specific high school slang for them or just something that was like invented. But I love the word. I love how it looks. It looks so 90s pop punk. Like you could see it sort of written in like a Hanna-Barbera style font on like
totally.
A t-shirt with like a girl holding a ray gun or something, like on a ringer tee. It's such a like 90s punk word. Oh, I love it. That's such a great starting point for me to have this made up punk word.
Well, and I'm really obsessed now with your joke that we almost fucked up, which is the fentanyl Batman villain, the Fentoozler. Because I would just like to say, if there is, and I feel like, there may be like someone who is listening to this podcast with some artistic chops. I would love to see a mock-up of a Fentoozler, Adam West, Batman serial type villain. So if you have those skills and you are capable of producing a mock-up of such a sinister creature as the Fentoozler, I would love to see. I'd be personally very, very grateful.
Actually, everything we're talking about and this word, it all just seems like it would be an Aquabats like single cover.
Yeah, totally. The Fentoozler is and I mean, look, Ska's back, the Fentoozler's back. A girl holding a ray gun on a ringer tee, she's back.
It's all back.
It's all happening, man. And that's why I think Blink is in the studio in big ass board shorts, not working with Feldy. I'm convinced.
They're working with like a hip. They're working with PC music.
Yeah, totally. They're working with Sophie. It's just it's all going to sound like the Vince Staples album or something.
I wish.
I know.
But yeah, first of all, I kind of agree that it's sort of nothing of a song, but this song in particular is extremely charming to me in that I don't really hear too many other Blink songs that have almost what I want to call a groove. Like the way that it's halftime with the kind of syncopated drums, you could almost like it makes me want to bob my head and bounce up and down the same way that listening to Turnstile does. Like it has this sort of like weird like mosh groove to it.
Do you think this is proto Turnstile?
It's like if Beat Happening had a mosh groove, like because it also has like all the like lo-fi elements of like this could be some like pop punk trio that was on K Records in 1995 that no one remembered, and there's a warehouse full of their CDs somewhere, but it's actually secretly sick.
Yeah,
it sounds like that, but it also has a mosh groove, and it also like I got to admit I don't really care that much about Jawbreaker. I'm sure that'll make a bunch of people mad. Spit their handcrafted coffee out.
Well, you're talking to one of them right now, Josiah. Brotherhood canceled. Best friendship canceled.
Shit.
No, I just want to emphasize just how much we get along.
But Jawbreaker, I don't know. I think I just missed it at the right time, and then looking back now, I can see why people like it, but I just don't really connect with it. But to me, this song kind of sounds like Jawbreaker more than any other Blink song does.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't think I thought about it because it's just not a reference that I've ever associated with them, but with that kind of like halftime, because Jawbreaker, like, you know, very rarely was like a punk band. It was all like kind of that mid-tempo, or I mean, some of it's a little faster, but let's be honest, the good songs are all kind of slow and groovy is maybe not a way to describe it, but I think that's like a fair comparison.
Yeah, I don't know. So I just find that this song is really interesting in all those ways because it does, like, it still sounds like Blink, probably mostly because of the vocals and because of something else I'll mention in a second, but it's like got all these weird groove elements and weird halftime things and stuff.
I like that you're teasing, like you're sort of developing these narrative tricks where you're foreshadowing what's going to come later in the episode.
Yeah.
And now I want to know what that, like, I don't want to vamp anymore. I just want to know what the other thing is.
Well, yeah, I think we're already running out of things to talk about. So I was going to play, I saw this in a, there's like the great sort of wanky guitar in the outro. Like there's like a guitar solo where it's just like Tom just doing everything he knows how to do at once.
Yeah.
And somebody pointed out somewhere, I can't credit them because I think it was like a comment on a YouTube video, or I can't remember.
You can still credit
I'm not
those
very
people
good at
with-
YouTube. I'm not very good at YouTube.
Right,
I don't know
okay.
if you noticed. But yeah, if you listen, he plays the Dude Ranch riff in there. I mean, the Damn It riff.
Really?
Like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of there. Let's just listen to a little bit in here.
Okay.
Probably didn't come through the speakers.
No,
very
I
well,
could
but
I could
it's-
totally hear it.
Yeah, like it's not exactly the same, but it's in there.
God, it's so interesting. Like just knowing that those ideas are kind of kicking around in the recesses of your brain. Like, how does that end up there? Did you find anybody else talking about that?
Not really. Like I just saw it in a comment and I listened. I'm like, yeah, that's in there. This has happened with a different song that I can't remember because we've been doing this for what feels like centuries now.
Well, I mean, it reminds me, and I don't know that it's not the sonic equivalent, but what's there's the documentary, the MTV doc, where you can hear Tom playing the Up All Night riff in the background, but it's like
Right,
years
right.
before that song came out.
Yeah, there was another one we did too though, where it was like I think it was one of the Cheshire Cat songs had an outro from a Dude Ranch song in it. I don't know. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
One of the people who's listened to all of our episodes in the last 3 days or whatever will be able to tell you.
Yeah. So if you could draw the Fentoozler, see, I honestly can't pronounce the word, and it makes me like really, it makes me really stressed out and anxious to have something like this where it's the same way I feel about pronouncing Tom's last name, where
Right.
I don't feel comfortable doing it because I've just done it wrong so many times.
I mean, that's one of those things that one of those tics that you have that I kind of thought was a bit all along.
No,
But, I mean,
I don't believe in bits. I believe in truth, and just radical honesty. Anyway? That's my
God.
entire reason for being. But it's interesting.
So
as well.
that I guess what you're sort of saying is making me think like it's not that they literally went back through the song and were like, let's chop out that section and turn that into a riff, but probably, well, I guess Mark wrote "Damn It," but whoever like probably like, it's just they're just doing. Their ideas are so simple and nothing that they're bound to sort of repeat themselves or go back to the same well until they perfect it. So they're just like, they're sort of hammering away at a sculpture.
Well, I mean, and this is what's interesting about Cheshire Cat stuff in particular, is it feels like they are circling a lot of the same melodic ideas. So like this song, I feel like it's like the guitar chords sort of mimic the carousel like melody a little bit. It sort of feels like they just don't have that many really original ideas. The fact that the damn riff appears is a good sign of that. And I actually don't mean that in a really negative way because I think you're sort of carving out your lane. But what's so interesting about what they kind of subsequently did with it is you take all that and you put it in a template where all the songs sound, like they're part of a coherent whole. Like everything on Dude Ranch feels like it belongs to the same band, but it's not like you're constantly lifting melodies and repurposing them. Whereas Cheshire Cat and this song in several instances kind of feels like it's just repurposing and rearranging melodic ideas that they're experimenting with before everything gets kind of perfected the next round.
Right.
Because you don't hear that as much later on. Like, outside of, the Up All Night riff sort of appearing in things, it is all kind of this era where there's things that feel like they're copy and pasted a little bit.
Yeah, but again, it's like they feel like that, but they're probably not. Like, it's just some dumb teens who don't have any other ideas.
Well, it's probably because it wasn't their job. You
Yeah,
know?
totally.
Like, I think at some point, and you have these, maybe there's sort of like an interesting kind of arc that you could build out if you were so inclined. Like, if you were committed enough to this to start a weekly podcast, maybe this is the sort of work that you would do to sort of prove your ideas. But
Nah.
there's this period of time where, the band is a hobby. And so you're just not like really thinking too much about like people are going to hear every one of these songs and they all need to do whatever. You're just sort of like writing and fucking around. And then there's this moment where it's your job and you're hyper aware of the fact that like everything you do in that moment can be like could propel you to the next level and can have this effect on your career. And that can be both like, I think, very inspiring and incredibly poisonous.
Yeah, totally.
And
Because
then,
I do. Oh, sorry.
Well, can I finish describing my fucking arc, please? Oh. Listen, I co-host the podcast too, Josiah. I get to have ideas.
An arc is not really a thing where I know when it's done. I mean,
so I'm
I'll wait
describing
until you say Finn.
Okay, thank you. So as the arc curves downward, though, you get to that point where later in your career, like on a Neighborhoods, the band is a job in the way that you are like punching in and out and you're not inspired by it anymore. And so all that, the time that you could spend on the band doesn't really matter because you kind of don't give a shit. Finn.
See, I think that you're making a good point, but I feel like Neighborhoods is them at the peak of putting too much effort and ideas into it, whereas maybe California is where it's punching the clock.
Yeah,
But-
okay. You could build the arc however you want. That's okay.
Hey, call me Noah. Am I right?
I was like, this is the episode that we get through without.
I didn't mean to. But
You never mean
The-
to, Josiah. That's the problem.
But the thing is, like, when you're at the start of this, like, I agree there's more sort of, I don't know, hefty or substantial ideas that come from when they're just, like, belaboring every point and really trying hard to make every note count or whatever. But I love the charm of this naivete that you hear on this song. It just, like, it can't really be recreated or captured other than just being at this phase.
Totally,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
It's like a full moment in time. And that's so dumb because that's like every record. But I guess especially because, and you could say this about a lot of songs on Cheshire Cat, but I mean, this, because it experiments with so many different things, because it has that weird slow groove and it's got the like kind of dumb call and response that doesn't, like, I mean, I know it's in some stuff, but like this particular way that Mark and Tom are bouncing off each other doesn't appear in a ton of other Blink songs.
It's actually really weird call and response sort of thing because it's like, it's kind of like he's singing along or responding, but he's kind of doing neither. It's like as soon as Mark's word ends, Tom comes in.
Well,
It's like
the corny way that like if you're making fun of backup singers, like that's what you would do, just like repeat the last word, like shoot up, like that's it, you know. Josiah.
But he's not. It's almost like he's not even repeating the word. He's just doing the A part. He's just saying the letter A.
It's pure consonants, or the opposite, vowels. Yeah,
Right.
Look, it's been a long day. I had a really good point about that. Oh, okay. So this is what I was, thinking, and I think what is like so charming about that, and what you and I both, and again, like as a song, it's just not one. Like once we're done talking about it, I'm not gonna keep talking about it. Like I'm not gonna go back and listen to the song again. But the fact that like this band and like this genre is so much about like capturing that sort of punk jump, giant short, youthful energy. These songs exemplify that because it's just not calculated. It is such an earnest expression of fucking around with your friends. I realize I'm talking myself into loving the song by the end of the episode. I can already
you are.
I'm so fucking predictable.
That is what I love about this one, and also what I love about the song "Strings" on Cheshire Cat.
Yeah,
and
totally.
both of them, even this song mentions strings or a string in the lyrics. So it's just like such a unformed like fetus of a record. Like
Yeah.
everything is just sort of, but yeah, I don't know. It's almost like like when you're a teen and you're learning how to write songs, then you write things that sound like folk songs by accident. And this sort of reminds me of that too. Like it doesn't even really sound like punk music.
No, it's true. This doesn't have any like melodic markers of, oh, this kind of sounds like the Descendants. Like it is full on like a Peter, Paul, and Mary song.
Yeah, totally. I guess the only marker of trying to be punk is like that he says fuck in it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The lyrics are so dumb. We don't really need to talk about them. I mean, he says something about Tom calling people gay, which you really notice with the AAA thing. But
Yeah,
there's not really much to unpack with it. I was going to do a 45-minute dissertation about why it's unwoke, but...
You think we've kind of covered our bases here?
yeah, I think this one is a little bit hard to unpack because it's just like...
It's nothing.
A dumb 90s teen.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the line is, it's about Tom spending another night writing songs about all the people he thinks are gay. And
I mean,
you're like,
actually, the way he frames it is, do you think that it's right for Tom to spend another night? So maybe he's already like, oh, this is problematic.
Yeah, exactly. He's asking the Blink-182 nation how they feel about, Tom's kind of like casual homophobia. And the answer is AAA from Tom himself.
Triple A. I guess saying that this almost can't be repeated is kind of a funny thing to say because this was also on Buddha.
Yes,
so it
they
has
literally
been
repeated it. Yeah.
yeah. But I think it's a slightly different tempo on Buddha. I don't know. Let's just listen to a couple of seconds of it.
Yeah,
Why
okay.
the fuck not?
At the risk of sounding rude, just who the fuck do you think you are to tell me what you expect of me today? Well, you can take your attitude, you're out of luck, you're going way too far if you think there's any chance I'm gonna stay.
It really grosses me out how he sings fire.
It also
You're
like
to fire.
that version of it just sounds extra like band playing in the cafeteria to me.
Totally.
It's so relatably like
Yeah.
I don't know.
And actually,
I love
I
it.
noticed a punk signifier that time that I forgot about. But it sounds like a folk song, but then they try to make it punk by adding in this like Sex Pistols, like it's like totally never mind the bollocks sounding riff.
Yeah, totally. But ultimately, like written by people who don't own Nevermind the Bollocks, and if just like someone played God Save the Queen for them once, and they were like, "Yeah,
So good.
I love it. I want just once. I want to kind of find a position and commit to it.
Right, but it's hard. It's hard when you don't have a backbone, I guess.
Look I'm just like my natural position in the world is one of like, I guess positivity. And
Liking things.
I
You
just
like to
I
like things.
I love to. I don't like to like things. I love to like things. It animates me, man.
Do you like to love things, or do you love to love things?
Oh, I think I truly love to love things. I'm a real like black or white guy, so it's either like the worst thing that's ever happened and I've ever heard, and it makes me want to, tear off all my skin and light my skin on fire and like cover myself in the ash and run into Lake
What's
Ontario.
What's something like that recently for you?
That I hated?
Yeah.
So I've found that, going to the gym more over the last couple of years has really changed my opinion on popular music because, it became very popular to say that pop music is actually good. Like this was a
Right.
thing that happened around sort of the Carl Wilson
It's like
33 and the Third book.
That's sort of the go-to I have a personality statement that came after I don't even own a TV.
Yeah, this is not like a new idea, but 100% it was like, I love Big Black and also Rihanna am I freaking you out?
The bravery of that person.
Yeah, and that was fine because like I am one of those people in the sense that I'm like Taylor Swift is actually good. Are you squirming? So understanding that, and I like to think it never came from that place, but 100% I like bought into the sort of like poptimist attitude as it was kind of dubbed when it was happening. But I have found that being at the gym is such a reminder that popular music is actually mostly trash. And
Right.
that's not me posturing and trying to be cool. Like I still love a lot of Taylor Swift and I love Rihanna and I love Drake. Like I love big pop music for sure. But then you go to a place like the gym where they're really just playing like the fucking radio because like they don't play like
No, like
Kanye songs. New Kanye songs don't get played on the radio. What's played on the radio is like. I think it was a song from the guy from Train. Like this is what fully set me off, where it was like, it was like a full nursery rhyme, Blink-182 type melody of like, I am the sugar man, sugar man, sugar man. I can't even remember it, and it's like a duet. It's
That's who's gonna fight the Fentoozler.
Yeah, it's the sugar man. Oh no, maybe it's the love. I think it's like Lover Man. And then
No, you're totally right though. The people who invented poptimism, like those fucking nerdy ass 40-year-old music writers who are like, actually Carly Rae Jepsen is good. They don't listen to the radio. Like the actual radio where real pop music is sounds nothing like the 5 things that were all produced by Blood Orange anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's. So that specific like pop songs will make me so mad. There's one right now that sounds like an Imagine Dragons song, and they play it like I swear to God 100 times in an hour at the gym, and it's like
I think that is an Imagine Dragons song.
Wait.
Like they have like a massive hit right now that sounds. They already sound like they're doing an impression of themselves.
Well, no, I actually think this one isn't. It's like this song that's like, it's about to be legendary. And it's the most epic bacon-ass song in the fucking world. And it's not even by Imagine Dragons. It's a band that is like a sub-Imagine Dragons band singing about legendary shit. And it makes me, like, for the 2 seconds that I don't have headphones in, listening to just, like, brutal breakdowns, like just moshing my squats. I wanna kill myself, and so that's something where like that's very black or white to me. Is that like actual pop music sucks?
Yeah, it's true.
And specifically
That's fair.
the song from the guy from Train and this legendary song.
Those sound good to me.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair. But how did we get here again?
I was saying that my default position is positivity, and I already feel myself saying in my final thought that the song is so great. It reminds me of my childhood and like the same shit that I say every episode. Look, punk is actually so good. Remember when we were young, Josiah?
The thing about this song is like, if you love an artist, as we both actually do here.
Yes, that is true.
It's fun to see their early sketches and to watch the thing that they've perfected form. So that's one reason why you might end up liking this song. But also it is just like that energy in a bottle that we've been talking about.
Well, it's the thing that like drew us to this band and drew us to this genre. So even on a sketch of what that would sort of become in terms of the thing that really sort of got both of us, which is like the sort of Dude Ranch era, it's all there. And it's interesting that you call it kind of like the sketch of a thing that you know we would both come to love. It reminds me of the way people refer to, you know, great painters. They'd be like, oh, this is actually an early Picasso. You know, like people talk about that when they talk about fine art, right? Like that it takes great painters some time to sort of come into their own and develop their style. And so ultimately, if you collect Rembrandts, you know, you still would be interested in early Rembrandts, even though they don't look like whatever a Rembrandt looks like.
Although it's funny, I think with a lot of people like Van Gogh or whatever, their early stuff is actually the most like technically, classically good, and then then they get weird after, and then become like masters. So I think with music, it's kind of the opposite, where it's like their early stuff is like they fucking
technically
suck
terrible. Yeah,
yeah. But I know what you mean. Like you kind of, eventually you become interested in it, and I do think that this song has some weird charms, even though the lyrics are not that good, and it's pretty forgettable, but something about it sticks with you, and I think it's the funny Sex Pistols riff. But I think I found something that's gonna make you full bore love it.
Okay, I'm ready, man.
So there's a lot of just bullshit that I found, obviously, for the first time. Usually I don't find bullshit, but this time
No,
I did.
usually you're focused in your your finding. I mean, the title of this video already has my heart.
Oh my god, I didn't notice the YouTube avatar that they have if you zoom in somehow.
Oh, what? Okay.
I have a feeling this is the only thing these people have uploaded based on their username.
Yeah.
No. And oh my god.
Okay, you have to describe what is
There's a
happening
lot going on.
because you're
So many
literally
things
just
happen
reacting
in
to
real
your
time.
own your own perusal
things
of the
just
internet
happen
right now. I don't
in
even know
real
what's happening.
Okay. So
Okay,
sorry,
I'll start because you're clearly
This
lost.
person, I just discovered that this person lives in Calgary.
Oh
is what,
my
is what's going
god,
on.
dude, you have to meet them.
Yeah, I do.
So the video you just sent me is called 65 Days with multiple exclamation points. Fentoozler, bitch.
The username is Blink Countdown. This is from June 2011 and it has 37 views. And their avatar is these two girls who have drawn dicks over their lips so that when their mouth is closed, they have a sort of like a little cartoon dick going from one lip to the other. So that's cool.
An
And then
homage, presumably.
Of course, they wrote, "Please note, we do not own the rights to the song Fentoozler. They are owned by Blink-182."
Which is also rich because, guys, Blink doesn't own these rights. This is why the record industry is full of crooks. Sony owns this song. Blink gets some money from Sony for having written this song. But kids, when you're writing your YouTube descriptions, check out who really runs things. It's the publishers.
I would
okay?
love to. I cannot wait for there to be an actual like lawsuit that we all get to blog about like Universal Records v. Tommy and Tyler's YouTube hole, where it's like they didn't actually write the proper disclaimer underneath the YouTube video. So
Yeah, and they're coming at them.
Their like homemade skate video that had Foo Fighters song in it is unfortunately going to cost them $100 million.
I mean, that's the sort of thing that the record industry would do. So let's,
Do it. I say do it.
Yeah,
Why
all
not?
right. I'll talk to legal counsel the next time they're in the office.
Yeah, or like when people used to say like, this Facebook status is to inform you that I do not consent to my whatever.
And that worked. I want everyone to know that worked. And your
Yeah,
data
it did work.
Cambridge Analytica did not touch you. You're fine.
Cambridge Analytica didn't work. They were like, oh, guess we can't do this stuff because everyone did that status.
Yeah.
They did those stat-eye.
Okay,
yeah,
so what is this video?
This video from Calgary is just soundtracked by Fentoozler, but so these girls are excited for the concert in 2011, and it's like super low-res, shitty, digitized. Like, I want to say this is about 150 like p. It's so pixely, but it's just them. It's them writing Fentoozler on pieces of paper and on labels, and for 2 minutes they just like sticker everything with the word Fentoozler.
What?
They're so excited for the concert. They put it on a yield sign. They stick it on some flowers.
What is happening here? And are they doing this all in your, like, do you recognize any of the locations?
I didn't realize that. That's why I like sort of blacked out for a second because I couldn't believe that they're from Calgary. That's crazy. But no, I don't recognize it because it's like it's all pixelated like crazy. First of all,
I mean, it looks like it was shot on a flip phone. Like, this is the video quality you got out of a Motorola Razr.
exactly. Oh, they just stuck it to like a propane tank, a bus stop.
I am so into these girls calling their video Fentoozler, bitch. I just think it's like.
Also, when I first saved it, I thought it was like actual stickers, like they were doing vandalism. But for the most part, they're doing sticky notes.
It's just
so
Post-its. So, but this account is interesting to me. So they appear to have been doing sort of almost daily videos, right? Like 76 days, 75 days, Story of a Lonely Guy tribute, 72 days, Dude Ranch, 71 days, Here's Your Letter, 70 days, First Date, good old 69 days, My Pet Sally, 68 days, Wasting Time, and then 65 days, Fentoozler Bitch. And then they get to they kind of stop around, they do 62 days, 52 days, 45 days, 38 days, 27 days, 1 day. To me, if you're going to start a YouTube channel called Blink Countdown, and I say this as someone who has been very committed to this idea for so far, this is 42 weeks of us doing this outside of the episodes that I didn't appear in.
That's a long time.
I know.
That's a long time.
So I like their vibe, but I just feel like they could have been more committed to this concept.
That's true, and I'm also a little disappointed that the other videos didn't involve them writing the song title on a Post-it note.
We got to keep it. You got to keep it fresh, Josiah. You can't just spend 42 weeks talking about how punk is so good and you love it, and oh man, punk jumps are sick.
Okay, but do you think that they do you think after all of this hype that they could have possibly enjoyed the concert as much as they should have? Do you think anything with this much hype could possibly live up to it?
Only a Blink-182 concert, my man.
I think I might have been to this one. I can't remember. I think this was with Fall Out Boy, maybe.
I wonder. I mean, it looks like the show was in Calgary. I don't see they posted a video of the DJ AM tribute, but there doesn't seem to be much other information in terms of venues.
Well, I clicked through to where where it said about, and it went to one of their Facebook pages. So I'm going to add as a friend.
Nice.
Of course. But yeah, the Facebook page is all just Blink-182 tattoos, stuff about being on the street team and stuff. This person is a serious head.
That's awesome.
So,
well, I mean, good for you to have another friend in town because
yeah, I could use it.
You seem kind of lonely.
But yeah, I just thought that really reminded me of being a kid. Also, just writing a song title on a sticky note and putting it somewhere.
Oh my god!
Just the shittiest, lamest, most suburban graffiti possible.
I'm hoping that you find one. This week, you're just out, looking at mailboxes or wherever they're putting these things on, and you're like, "Wait, could it be? It's all weathered by the rain and six winters."
Oh man, yeah. So that's that thing that I found.
Well, you're right. I do love the song even more now.
Here's like I said, I didn't do any bullshit this week. So this one is a Hungarian video where somebody keeps kicking a soccer ball at the camera and hitting it with the song Fentoozler in the background. So I'm just gonna play it, and it's really quite visual. So please watch along at home, everyone. Just search. I don't know how I found this, so I don't know what to search. But I'll just play you some of it.
Hello, Billy.
There's a lot of silence in it. I'm sorry. I remember there being a song in it earlier. Okay, here we go.
You, Papa! Lad, Papa! Ano, Papa, nasuwalok! Nasuwalok to, Papa, mehet! Figyelek! Ott a látjátok? Papa! Papa!
I mean, I don't even know how this person managed to hit the camera that many times. There's at least 3 hits in this video.
I mean, this feels this video was uploaded in 2016. I was going to say this feels like a real early YouTube video, when people were getting into trick shots and stuff, that they've, set up this camera in what looks to be, a small village.
Yeah. I'm just guessing it's Hungary because YouTube wanted to translate it to Hungarian, all the writing.
Yeah, that seems right.
So,
and it was Chris knows how to hit a camera from 50 because he's substantially away from the camera and nails it every time. But yes, there's a lot of text at the beginning that I can't read, and that was the silence that you heard again of this highly visual joke that was not a waste of anyone's time.
Oh no, not at all.
This is another thing in terms of the parody of this, but we started recording this. We didn't talk a lot beforehand because I am in what you would refer to as a time crunch because I wanted to be done in about an hour.
This is how dedicated Sam is to the pod. He gives me one window a week of
God. I gave you 2 windows. One of them was very late tonight, and one of them was like right now. So.
That's true. I guess that's 2 windows.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very generous.
I'm very.
But trust me, there's not much else. But
I am very excited. Okay, sorry. Please finish your thought.
Oh well, if you want to talk about the Hungarian soccer,
I have nothing to say about the
please
Hungarians right now.
What do you want? What do you want here?
Well, what I want is there was some debate today. We have a guest this week, but as I told you in the chat, we didn't really talk about the song. They're not familiar with the song. They're barely familiar with the band. So
perfect.
There
sounds like a perfect guest.
Exactly. Sort of given our highly on-topic podcast, it was extremely appropriate. So there was some debate as to whether or not we should maybe change the song, and then you found a grindcore cover, and you were like, cool, now we're doing this song.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the obvious transition into covers, but that's the thing I'm the most excited about.
Yeah, no, you're not getting there yet.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yep. Right. So go ahead.
I was just
I'm teasing
say,
something here too. That's all. Like I'm learning from the best.
That's fair. By giving it away. That's great. What I was going to say is the word Fentoozler appears to be a very popular username with Blink-182 fans on the internet. So I found a couple really weird things that I got to bring up very quickly.
Okay, please.
So the Fentoozler 182 on DeviantArt, I was just mortified because I thought, oh, that's Fentoozler on DeviantArt. Surely it's going to be 90s pop punk. This person just posts photos of like decimated, melted, naked Barbies.
What the fuck?
And also a photo of a tap running with sponges.
Yeah, so the core of this person's art is like they've taken a lighter to Barbies and then like clearly not just melted them, but kind of like stirred around in the plastic. So the effect is not just like weird, like you're maybe going to become a serial killer, but thoroughly disconcerting. Like disturbed.
Like so upsetting, I know.
My God. If you were a teacher and a kid did this in a class, like you would have to report this to the police.
I agree. And also that I'm not going to play it because there's not much to play, but somebody also used Fentoozler in another like a school project about the environment. So I don't know. Teachers must have a high threshold for Fentoozlers.
Being a teacher must be so weird, man.
Just awful in general.
Yeah, like like if you're a teacher and you're listening to the pod, I mean, God bless you. How do you do it every day? Because you're like most of the assignments that you get are for sure decimated Barbies that, make you think that all of your students are going to like come into your home one night and murder you. Like I just think about my own weird death poetry when I was a kid. Like, this is so disturbed. How is this not more playful? How does Fentoozler 182...
That's what I mean. Adding the 182 as well, you're like, oh, this person must love classic 90s pop punk. But there's also like a self-portrait on there that just looks so terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, that is a nightmarish DeviantArt page.
This is great, man. Wow. Good thing we stuck with Fentoozler. I'm really happy with this.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird shit. So one more thing in my little sidetrack section. Please do not freak the fuck out. But
is it a TV repair video? Like, does the Fentoozler run like an unboxing channel?
It's almost that. This person has put Fentoozler in the title of their video. I think it might have been their gamer tag. I'm not sure. But this is from 2007. And it's a gamer giving us a room tour of his ponage area.
Oh my God, dude.
We don't have a lot of time. Let's just hear it, okay?
Oh yeah, we're in a time crunch, yeah.
This is where I own, or get owned. Speaker over here. Headset just plugs right into that speaker. I keep it there. Over here is my blinds for I guess hiding stuff or concealing. and there's my other speaker. Screen is my keyboard, regular Dell keyboard. It's my regular Dell mouse, optical. I'm not that scrub. I don't play with a ball mouse. It's my blue mouse pad with doodles. Guitar cords. What else? Ashtray, lighter, bag of weed, air freshener.
I love his quote unquote curtains / blinds, which are just like a shredded T-shirt.
Oh my God. For hiding stuff.
But yet he keeps his bag of weed right out there in the open.
Yeah, so what's he hiding that's not
Like,
drugs?
what's in there? Yeah.
I mean, sorry, and I'm letting the video run on my screen right now, and it looks like he's got like some casts, like plaster casts of hands throwing up the horns. Like, the thing I can't tell about this is this like a 16-year-old or is this a 30-year-old?
Well, it's also just really confusing because I think right now in history, we can't really comprehend what life was like only 10 years ago because it hasn't come back yet and it's not recent enough either. So like when you see photos of 2007, even the way that people dress, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everyone looks like Ryan Cabrera and has like big hair and like weirdly faded bootcut jeans. And you're just like, how did that exist? But in 10 years, probably all that shit will come back.
Yeah, totally.
So that's why that video, yeah, it looks like a 40-year-old man's divorce apartment.
just bag of weed. Like, sick, bro. Yeah. Like, so I'm down.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know why he named it Fentoozler, but
was that his like gamer name? Do you think that's like?
I guess, but then
COD tag,
like whatever his. I already closed it, but whatever his username was written in the description too. So I don't know. Maybe he just felt like putting the word Fentoozler on there, and you know what? I'm okay with it.
Yeah, no, I
wouldn't have found it other way. It's like this is why I love these obscure songs. There's a treasure trail of things to find.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I'd be mad about that as it loaded, and instead I was kind of like relaxed by it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, especially bad room tour videos, like ones that aren't high production value with like YouTube voice. The really bad ones are so relaxing.
Like, is that what ASMR is like? Just dude being like, it's a regular Dell keyboard, got a blue mouse pad, it's a lighter, bag of weed.
I don't have a ball mouse. I'm not that much of a scrub.
Like, my dude, I'm looking at your room. You are that much of a scrub.
Yeah, like that curtain. That's just a fucking shredded T-shirt.
Yeah.
And this will be a good time to remind everyone that I have started threading all of our videos on our Twitter when it comes out.
That's actually
so you don't
very
have
important.
you don't have to use your imagination, although you should. It's good for you.
The thing that I like about this is the mystery as to whether or not he lives with his parents. So the age is a mystery. The room, again, is so disgusting that it could only be a teenager's room, but his weed is out in the open.
But you can hear a TV in the background, which, I don't know, I was getting like parents watching daytime TV vibes from that sound.
Yeah, so then like he's pretty bold with the weed, but then he also has the air freshener right beside his computer. So maybe he is just like a 16-year-old who's like chronic, and I'm down, but
I don't know. We'll never know. But his only other video is another gamer setup, but he uploaded it with no sound at all. And he moved to the basement, so I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah. All right, man. Cool. I love that. Apparently, as long as there's not 30 of them.
Well, okay. The last thing before we do covers proper, there's not very many covers, and most of them are really bad. But I feel like this captures the spirit of the song more than an actual cover. And this band is called the Fentoozler.
Oh.
And it's just Untitled, but it's a new song. Check the CD soon. They've written 114 views since 2010. But this is just three boys in a dark room that just looks very poorly lit and sort of airless, and they have plastic cups of water, and they're sitting around with unplugged electric guitars. Like they're playing on unplugged electric guitars, not acoustic guitars.
Amazing.
But I actually think the song sounds good.
Okay.
Do I got back? Time to break our rule, make it back again, don't wait any time again, time again, song again, try to be the same as you want it, don't make fucking same at all, make the same, don't play the game, was not 10,000 years before, 10,000 years before.
Dude.
His phone started ringing during the first verse.
But the song's pretty good.
Right? Like it actually sounds kind of like a later Blink song.
Yeah. So, okay, here's something that's, I think, kind of incredible is this band, like the Strooms and another band, because I know, like, we've played, like, we sort of are, like, half a Christian music podcast and half an Indonesian pop punk podcast. These guys
Yeah,
are
like, it's
also
definitely-
Indonesian. Like, these guys are from Bali.
Like it's absolutely Indonesia season, and it has been for a while.
Like, we didn't realize it, but, like, oh, my God. I love Indonesia. Like, and I think I said this the last time we played the Strooms, because the Strooms have appeared on multiple episodes. Couldn't tell you which ones, but
No idea.
definitely sort of the heroes of the pod. And like I have said before, that I truly hope that one day our growing Indonesian fan base will fly us out because we love the people and the music of Indonesia, and we celebrate it every week here on Blink 155.
At least what is filtered through these extremely obscure YouTube searches.
Why are there so many like sick Indonesian pop punk bands?
I don't know, but I think perhaps, at least in this video, and what I like about the streams too, is that there's like so much less production value. Obviously, this video is like insanely lo-fi, but it sounds sick. Like, it's sort of what I like about the song in general, is that it's just like there's no production value whatsoever. It's just completely stripped down, almost like devoid of the things that normally signify quality. So then you just get the raw song.
It's so raw, and you know what else is pretty great? One of the band members in the Fentoozler is named Comes.
So this song comes.
Gotta
That's what
say
I'm trying to say. This song comes.
This song fucking comes.
All right, let's see. We've done the gamer room tour. We've done the Hungarian boy kicking the soccer ball, the melted Barbies. What else we got here?
Yeah, we got the unplugged electric guitar Indonesian band named after the song.
Well,
That's the Josiah hat trick, I think.
I was gonna do the. Truly, though, there are very few actual good covers. Like, it's just like, that Little Red Guitars guy has a 10-minute video where he teaches you how to play it. Like, how could that even take 10 minutes? I don't even understand. I feel like you're overplaying it if it takes that long.
Yeah, I mean, recently I don't think, have we ever talked about the Ataris on this podcast?
I don't think so.
Because I loved the Ataris growing up, but they're like a band that fully just like fell off of like, I don't even go back to them as a nostalgic listen very often, which is weird because I did recently, and I was like, some of these songs are amazing.
But didn't they also start to have like 12 members and have violins and shit?
Yeah, like
by the end,
Buddy kind of lost his mind a little bit. They put out like a really kind of wild record where he was trying to sound like The Cure, and then they came back and did the sort of like sad nostalgia full album tour thing where he ended up like throwing the drums at the drummer in the middle of a song.
Sick.
And the drummer, I'm amazed that you must know about this because I feel like the drummer, the guy who ended up playing drums on the Ataris on what will probably be the last ever Ataris tour, is like kind of a popular YouTuber, and so he did like a vlog about it or something. Anyway, this is all like a half remembrance for me, but I always think of something like on the old Atari's website, because he used to be very involved in the like web community surrounding around the band, that like people would ask for tabs all the time. And he was like, we're a pop punk band. Like if you can't figure out how to play the song by listening to it, like you probably just need to practice guitar more. Like I'm not to be a dick, but just like seriously, it's not worth the time. And so yeah, 10 minutes to explain like maybe the end of the song would take 10 minutes. Like I'm not sure, but like
even that is like, I don't even know if there's a way to explain it because it's just Tom like wanking around on a major scale.
But maybe
In fact, I wonder if they're even different between Buddha and Cheshire Cat, that little end solo part. I don't know because I don't really care about that kind of research.
Yeah, no, that's not what this podcast is about.
One thing about the Ataris I want to say, since we have all the time in the world, is one of the former bassist earlier this year was indicted for running a real estate scam.
Oh yeah, they caught him like coming off a plane, right?
Yeah, he had apparently allegedly scammed $27 million from people by selling pre-foreclosed homes on Craigslist.
That's honestly so sick and a truly great pop punk movie waiting to happen if any aspiring filmmakers are listening to the podcast.
Absolutely. I would watch the shit out of that.
It's like such a great, like, kind of crime, like super fun. The soundtrack would be sick. There'd be a lot of people walking through airports.
Well, people love movies about the housing crisis too. I feel like that's one of those like recent sore spots of American culture that you could probably get that funded pretty easily.
Yeah, no, it's a hot topic for sure.
Hot topic.
Hot
Okay.
topic.
You've already spoiled what was going to be the last cover, so let's start with it.
Okay.
This band, now it was tagged grindcore when I searched it, but I think it's more like I feel like I'm sort of in over my head here. It's more like power electronics, like you know that band Bastard Noise that came out of Man is the Bastard? Like,
yeah.
Like probably grindcore people are into this, but it doesn't sound like grindcore.
Okay.
It's probably going to be the most frustrating thing I play on the entire pod today.
Whoa, okay.
But this band is called Bullshit Market, and they're from Detroit. They've been around since 2005, and their lineup has changed a bunch of times.
Sounds like a metal band.
Based on Discogs, it says they're mostly focused in the styles of power electronics, noisecore, and cut-up harsh noise. Harsh noise is all one word. So, I don't know. I feel like this is one of those things where, like, to the lay person, the genre probably just sounds like noise, but to, like, the actual geeks who are, like, blowing their brains out with speakers in a basement, they know the difference. So, I don't want to say the subgenre wrong. But it's one of those things.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
not
I
quite
want to go
grindcore.
ahead and say, like, those things are all made up.
Yeah,
Like, they truly are.
But I feel like it's like learning a language. Like eventually you know the language and you're like, oh, because of what pedal he's using, that's actually harsh noise and not noise harsh.
Yeah. Like, I love, like, this stuff is, like, such a fun internet rabbit hole. And I'm, like, in a different life, I got requests every day to do a power electronics episode of This Exists. And, like, I think it's, like, really interesting, but it's, it's like, extra tone or any of those things where you're basically describing differences in BPM. I mean, that's not actually true in terms of, like, noise harsh and harsh noise. But
well, let's hear if we can even figure out what the fuck's going on. So on a split with a band called Captain Three Leg, they covered Fentoozler.
Okay.
So let's hear if we can even understand it.
Yes.
That was pretty fucking awesome.
That
actually.
was so sick.
even in my shitty computer speakers, they started sort of humming like a big amp would. Like
Yeah.
it was the power was coming through.
Even through a mic that you are using to record your voice and the speakers that are coming through Skype to me through crappy earbuds, like I felt that like in my teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
That
I
was
think I could
great.
make out some of the lyrics.
All I could make out is like, who the fuck do you think you are? Which
yeah,
it's
that's enough.
Yeah, that was
counts.
Totally enough. Like that's a cover as far as I'm concerned. It sort of reminds me of like the Dismemberment Plan cover of "Close to Me" by The Cure, where they're like, it's just a song. It's just like the Dismemberment Plan kind of noodling around, and then periodically it just feels like Buddy is like, "Close to me." You're like, all right, cool.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I was not expecting you to compare that to the Dismemberment Plan.
It's certainly shades of.
In fact, when I describe being perplexed by what we were all into in the late 2000s in terms of fashion, I want to lump in Dismemberment Plan with that. Too.
Yeah,
'Cause
for sure.
I used to love them, and they absolutely sound exactly the same as Incubus now. So it's really weird. But yeah, so check out the split, I guess, if you liked that. Anyone? Captain Three-Leg and Bullshit Market. On the split, Bullshit Market also covers Throbbing Gristle, which makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, that's actually thematic. But the idea of, see, I love because those scenes do tend to like take themselves so seriously, but I guess also there's like heavy irony. So doing a deep cut from Cheshire Cat is perhaps appropriate, but that's still pretty funny. Like it's sort of shades of like I can't even remember the song anymore, but like you had that neo folk cover of something where I do really appreciate people going like so out on a limb with something, and that is, I think, like, you know, we've had like some atonal a cappella versions of songs. Like that's the most difficult thing you've ever played, and I really appreciated it.
It makes like because that like Cousins dangerous one that we always play.
Yes,
was previously kind of one of the most sort of out there things, but now it just sounds like a fucking acoustic cover compared to this. Because this makes me feel scared.
Yeah,
that I'm gonna get evicted just by playing it on my computer.
You landlord's knocking at the door as soon as you finish recording.
Yeah,
we're gonna get an explicit marker on iTunes, despite the fact that at least I swear constantly. Finally, because of that song.
So good. Okay, well, let's just quickly do 2 more covers, and then you can go off to do whatever the fuck else you want to do with your life.
It's the simmering resentment that I think gives the pod its kind of crackling tension, and I'm just trying to keep that alive.
That's the brotherly vibe.
Yeah, exactly.
That comes from us being actual blood brothers, which is also why we're sponsored by that brewery.
Yeah, and why, of course, we are great fans of the band Blood Brothers.
Yeah, another relic of the late 2000s that will hopefully make sense in the coming years.
Is that coming? I guess that's and if so, that's fine. Let's not.
Let's not. This band is called City Bus, but it's spelled with an S. And it's just I saved it because there's only like a handful of band covers of this song, but this one is also similarly off-putting because no matter how much I turn up my speakers, it sounds distant, like I'm trapped inside like one of those like flotation tanks or something. Like I just feel like I can't quite grasp it. It's distant sounding.
Okay.
I actually love the music, but it's just like so distant sounding. I feel like I'm losing part of myself while I try to connect with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also intrigued by the way that they describe themselves in the YouTube description, where all three of them are credited with different aspects of the vocals. So Jason is responsible for the high vocale, it's spelled Vokale. Johnny with the deep vocale, and Jim with the back vocale.
I know. I love it.
Are there that many vocales in there? I mean,
Well, again, like I feel like if I reach any harder to try to hear it, I'm going to lose my soul.
so you
But
don't want to think too much about it.
Yeah, but it did sound like deep in there were some like haunting harmonies going on that were like almost too good. Like it sounded like Vivian Girls a little bit.
Right, yeah. I think that just shows the importance of good mastering. You know, bands, you may be able to make a record in your bedroom now, but, it's not going to sound good on Rap Caviar if you don't master it right. So, go.
Well, this is from 2008 as well, so I don't know honestly, another thing from the late 2000s was like not knowing how to get audio onto your computer. They may have just like had it on a boombox and used a mic or something to put it on their computer.
So sick. That gives me all kinds of great nostalgic emotions, which I love to talk about at length.
All right. Well, I guess we haven't said if we're down or not with any of these, but
I feel like we stopped doing that. Do we?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes we say if we like them or not. That one is just making me feel weird because I'm straining so hard to understand it.
Yeah, I don't want to think too much about it. Like I feel it feels like
it feels like a trap.
Yeah, it feels like a trap from an art housey kind of horror movie where like Pontypool, right? Where the disease is language and conceptualizing language. So I don't want to think too much about it because I fear I'll turn into some sort of like art zombie, and I'm not. I like those movies, but it's just not my life, you know.
I mean, I think these are some of the most avant-garde covers, like that one, and then the power noise one, and then we're gonna end with this one from Anthony Dulong. This is also from 2007. Like for some reason in the late 2000s, people were into covering this song, and he's written "Drummer is singing, guitarer is guitaring," but like. Let's listen to it, but make sure you watch what I say.
I think we should describe it before people like see it. So it's on a fisheye lens. It's like almost 1:1 kind of ratio. Like I don't even understand what they shot it on, and it looks like they're recording it.
It's of such a hip aesthetic now. I was just gonna say for it to be this square.
Yeah,
that's what every new music video looks like.
And it's hard to tell if it's the effect of the fisheye or if they literally are in like a like. It looks like the fisheye is accentuating what is already like a very claustrophobic basement that's like, or they're in an attic. Like it does look like.
I had written it down like that they're in a cave.
Yeah, like or in some sort of like old bunker. Like
the first shot, whatever that is, when you first open the video, it looks like it was done in After Effects, but it's not. It's just some sort of weird like fucking Blair Witch Project shot of a light as he's moving it around, and the lens is disgustingly filthy. Yeah,
you gotta like watch this, and there's like a white plastic lawn chair, and then like I actually thought it was a work light, but it's not. It's just an uncovered lamp lighting the whole room, and so it's extremely Blair Witch, where it's like lo-fi but like beautiful in this highly evocative way. I'm so curious what it's like. You know, where you're like, okay, this is made by people who understand how to compose a shot.
Or, I mean, that's kind of, again, the whole thing we're talking about here is, do you think they know how to compose it, or do you think they're accidentally creating something evocative, which is what this song also is?
Totally
right?
on accident, like 100% on accident.
Yeah, but maybe they went on to like open something at Con. You never know. Okay, let's hear it after we've set the stage.
The race goes down the road. The fucking thing you are to tell me what you
I mean, the intro was very Blair Witch, and the rest of it's like good. It sounds like, two guys. I don't have, unfortunately, a ton to say.
Oh,
But
I was hoping that you were gonna have like an orgasm about it, because I loved it, and to me the quality of it and the sound of it and this song, I just realized it reminds me of. Have you ever heard the band The Bananas? Do you remember The Bananas?
no, I don't think
They're sort of like I can't, someone's probably getting so mad.
So like Melt Banana. I remember
think-
Melt
no, I think-
Banana.
The Bananas were like sort of a garagey pop punk band that are so underrated. They were on Planet X, and then they also did a record on Recess, but it was like not folk punk. It was like sort of, I want to say like the Ergs or something, but kind of dumber and jokier even.
Okay.
And very lo-fi. It reminds me of that a lot. Like I think with pop punk and with hardcore, they've finally been figuring it out. But I think especially with pop punk, the lo-fi aesthetic is so underexplored and makes the song sound so powerful and good.
Yeah, okay, this is extremely some Josiah shit for sure.
Yeah, I'm so into it. But the noises at the start of the video were them saying that it was for their friend Jordan, and they put it on a sheet of paper and then scrunched it up and threw it out. Somehow this video has 3,500 views. I don't know why, other than that it's a work of art.
Jesus. Yeah, look, they've got, as many listeners as we have, and so, props to the fellas.
Yeah, shout out to them. So that's it for covers. That's it, I guess.
Okay, so Josiah, what are your final thoughts on the fentanyl Batman villain of this track?
I went into it liking it, and I like it even more now. It's good. It's really good.
That's great. Okay, well, I think that I went into it as I think I opened with my sort of like, it's there. And now, like everything, I love it. It's my favorite song.
Top 5.
Yeah, that Power Electronics cover was so sick. And I'm happy that we, may have finally understood that we're in Indonesia season and we just hadn't noticed. So, always happy to, celebrate the great Balinese. Is that how you'd conjugate like Bali, the Balinese pop punk scene?
Not sure. That's why I said Indonesia season. Just avoided that altogether.
Right. Yeah. It's just like it's like a real Fentoozler. Like, let's just not say it as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. So we have a guest this week, and as I sort of mentioned earlier, and again, I love that we always like pretend like we're not announcing who the guest is as if it's not in the episode name and description. But Jessica Hopper, who's writing, I have long admired. Her work for Punk Planet was super important to me growing up in sort of shaping a wider vision of punk and also sort of understanding kind of different perspectives about punk. I mean, I've often cited emo Where the Girls Aren't as like one of the most important things that I read growing up, because it was like the first thing that pointed out that all this music that I loved like might actually be like quite toxic in its misogyny. And so anyone who hates when we talk about that on the pod, Jessica Hopper is to blame. Don't tweet at us anymore. Tweet it. Please.
Well, I assume that she'll probably do a much smarter version of us talking about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So she gets smart, but she is currently I think she's just sort of like writer at large. But she was a senior editor at Pitchfork, editor-in-chief of Pitchfork Review, ran MTV News as the editorial director there for some years. Her book, the first collection of criticism by a living female rock critic, is fantastic, and it's a collection of a lot of her writing over the years that is like truly excellent. So it was really exciting to talk to her, even though as I emailed her, she was like, I've literally never listened to Blink-182. And I was like, great.
That's so good.
That's perfect, because we don't talk about them much on this podcast.
Hopefully we've made another fan from Blink-182 through this process.
Yeah, that's because this podcast is all about proselytizing. How do you pronounce that word?
It's an outreach. Yeah. You just say outreach. Whenever you don't know how to say a word, you just find a synonym.
Right, but I want to say proselytize because I think it's a good, smart word.
Fentoozlerizing.
So I went Fentoozlerizing with Jessica Hopper, and it went a little something like this. So, Jessica, we've had people on this podcast who are not fans of Blink-182. We've had people who are not super familiar with Blink-182. And you made very clear to me when I reached out to you that you really have never listened to Blink-182. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I'm Googling them right now. So maybe I can...
If you could do some live research, I think that would be, potentially very informative for people listening to the podcast.
They're playing in Vegas, according to Twitter.
They are. Okay, so so we're breaking that news.
I know their names.
I always wondered, and something I really wanted to ask you, is as a person who was, I think, chronicling, true punk culture at a time when Blink was blowing up, and I'm 33, and the co-host of the podcast, Josiah, also is around the same age, and I always wonder what it would have been like to have been a few years older than us and really invested in punk when this band was blowing up and being described as punk. So did you have any sense of, who the band was at that time?
I mean, I knew who they were, quite well because I was living in California and they were, obviously coming out of Orange County, right? And they were constantly in the press, and they were definitely kind of a sign of just how big punk pop was in that moment. I mean, my experience in living in LA around that time, was all of pop punk was blowing up, and Blink was kind of really at the, I don't want to say the vanguard of it, but really it seemed to be working out quite well for them. So it wasn't that I was ignorant of them by any means, but they were never a band I was going to write about. They were never a band that was going to tour with bands that I worked with. They were never a band I was ever going to see on purpose. So, they're one of my blind spots.
Did you ever see them accidentally? You mentioned not wanting to see them on purpose, but have you found yourself ever at a Blink-182 concert?
Were they ever on Warped Tour?
They definitely were part of an era of Warped Tour, for sure.
There were definitely years that I reported from Warped Tour, or that maybe I went to go see like a friend play on Warped Tour. I might have heard them ambiently.
Right, so you
before.
might have been like at catering and Blink was sort of happening in the background.
I might have walked past the back of the stage.
But at
and
a time.
made a joke at their expense and kept walking.
And then in your mind, oh, sorry.
But here's the funny thing. Probably during those times or shortly after, I was Alkaline Trio's publicist. So I've actually worked with Matt Skiba a ton back in the day and worked with Alkaline Trio when they were like a little baby band, but that was obviously decades ago.
Well, we've certainly uncovered, there's like an old Matt Skiba guesting on a what's the bass player from Mighty Mighty Boss Tones had a band that put out like 2 records.
No,
Avoid
don't
One
remember.
Thing. So there's this band called Avoid One Thing, and Matt sings vocals on it, and it's all about wanting to be in a big pop punk band like Blink-182. And it's quite scathing, actually. So was there ever were they the butt of any jokes for bands like Alkaline Trio sort of back in the day, or were they just on a kind of a different planet?
I mean, the thing is that within, West Coast pop punk tradition is really its own thing and its own canon. And we really have to, I think lots of times the mistake is to see maybe Green Day as the origination point, but you really have to think that the origination point, kind of came in two polarities. One being LA, which is Bad Religion, and then Northern California being NoFX. But that really, when the long-term sort of swath of influence came down to it, you could see that people, both fans and, the makers and proponents, the people who are bringing pop punk forward to successive generations, that NoFX was really the one with the lasting influence. People I think part of it is because, the sort of tenor of politics always within California punk was it was like a bubble. And so the idea of Bad Religion no one likes a scold. And so I just think that was the kind of long-term viability of Bad Religion as an influence. And also they were just kind of undynamic in a way where, in the same way, I guess you could kind of say some of the same things about NoFX, that NoFX didn't ever super evolve as a band, but it allowed you to jump in and out of their thing for so long. You know what I mean? That it was they're sort of static in that way, but also they always had a humor that was just perdurably going to be fascinating to people who were maybe 12 or 13 or 15 or even 17, I suppose. And so I think that the idea of that they could be kind of a gateway, an influential gateway for a lot of people who would go on to make pop punk, really made it so that there was kind of that was really kind of the other polarity to the more sort of political and serious aspect of California punk and California pop punk, was something that really had a sense of humor. And I think that's always been kind of the great things about California punk is that polarity, is there was this really serious side, where you had bands that were kind of tackling things, in a very focused way, whether that's Jawbreaker or X, and then you had something that was much more silly and fun, whether it was I guess Minutemen are the ultimate band that were both, right?
Yeah, totally.
I'm coming up with this theory as I speak.
No, this is, as you're explaining it, I was like, this is an amazing theory, because we've hammered on the Descendants a lot on this podcast, but we actually haven't talked a lot about NoFX.
I think Descendants and obviously NoFX are they're basically the same kind of part of the puzzle, but I feel like NoFX sort of like that one step, because I think of the Descendants as being silly, and I think of NoFX as being kind of gross.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Is I think there's an evolution there. There's it's you can tell, okay, yes, Descendants were the template for everything, and really going back even further, it's yes, that there were particularly Minutemen and early SST, obviously, various, there was sometimes the humor and seriousness balanced within different eras of Black Flag, or, all those sort of things that I think have sort of balanced that California punk dichotomy, the sort of the darkness of particularly, I think, some SoCal and SST bands, and that seriousness was something that is really, really irreverent. And so to me, Blink has always been a distillation of that part that was really, excuse me, I didn't mean to burp. It was very appropriate, though.
They're very irreverent and kind of thumbing its nose at this, kind of the dour and the seriousness, the darkness of life, kind of the way that those would pop up in California punk, that they were much more kind of fun in a way that was kind of the fuck you, kind of gross out, kind of farts and titties kind of aesthetic. And so to me, maybe have I guessed right? That's basically what Blink-182 is.
I feel like you've nailed what we've now been doing for 42 episodes very succinctly in the last 5 minutes. Yes. We can stop now, actually.
I'm a pro. This is what people call me.
That's the thing. I can see sort of how your career has been so successful just from these last few insights. We actually had a great writer. Sorry. If you had more to add on that, I'm very open to it.
No, keep talking about how smart I am.
Well, so I will continue, and I will ask another question, which is, you're very smart, and we had another smart writer, Sarah Bosfeld, on the podcast a few episodes ago, and something she kind of touched on, which is sort of builds off what you just sort of laid the groundwork for, is the idea that what NoFX kind of started to do, and then Blink did on an even larger scale, was take that attitude and that sort of burpy, farty vibe and kind of commodify it and put it on an even sort of larger scale. Do you feel like that's kind of a fair assessment?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the other thing, too, is that that kind of work sells itself. You know, that they had where I think Blink really benefited from timing. You know, when people were really trying to figure out, you know, in whatever it was, 94, 95, you know, obviously grunge had kind of run its course in a way. And then as we started to kind of move past that with, you know, particularly in the wave of Green Day, but really, you know, in the wake of kind of what came after, and especially No Doubt, but people really trying to find out what was the next thing in California. And I remember I used to clean the office of a guy who worked in publishing when I was like a teenager, and I just started doing PR in LA, and it was like, you know, he was like going to go see bands like Tilt and like all these things where you're like, what? At the time that I thought was quite funny, thinking like, oh yeah, Tilt, I guess. You know, at that point there were so many different bands that were sort of becoming a next big thing, and it was, you know, every half, you know, well-intentioned ska band with a girl singer was getting signed, and everything that could kind of claim itself within the lineage of Green Day was getting signed, and all of these things. And that I think, you know, I think people kind of maybe underestimated the market force that Blink was about to be, you know. I think people just thought like, oh, this is something that will pop while all of this is hot. I don't think, I mean, who thought Blink would be around? I mean, that band started when I was in high school. I'm like 42 now, you know?
And now they're playing Las Vegas, which is not a trajectory that I think was really predictable at that time.
Well, I mean, I think that's also, Vegas has always been where you kind of retire to.
Yeah.
The difference is that they're not Celine Dion. They're not within that Vegas tradition that we normally see. You know, I mean, you can't, while you can draw a line between like, you know, the people that made Vegas really pop, you know, you can draw a line from Sammy Davis Jr. and Elvis to Britney Spears and Celine Dion and even J-Lo. But then to draw it like that much further to hit Blink-182 is really, that's, I think people would never have seemed within the realm of possibility until I think you really look at like sort of, their sustained popularity and the age of their audience and kind of their demographic. And then also secondarily, I think, kind of the state of, the concert industry and kind of how hugely corporate it is, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's, you know, we might not have predicted this 5-6 years ago, just until we really saw like the glut of like the festivalization of America, or how basically, you know, AEG owns everything that has to do with concerts, you know. So I think it's I think anybody would have probably been hard pressed even a couple of years ago to imagine them.
Well, and I got to ask,
that way.
yeah, and very quickly before you go, because you know there's some sort of division amongst myself and again co-host Josiah about Alkaline Trio. I grew up a huge fan. He's not so much a fan. You know, you mentioned that you worked with the band a lot in their nascent years, and so now Matt Skiba is performing in Las Vegas as part of Blink-182.
Mm-hmm.
How does that just personally make you feel to have that connection to it?
I think it's great that, I mean, those guys were all just like bike messengers and barbacks. You know, like what else were they going to do but play music? The fact that, you know, there's been sustained careers for people in that band, I think is fantastic. You know, not, you know, especially because they're like people that they didn't go to college, they toured, you know, so people who are in that position, I think it's always really, great if people can really have those sustained careers, because I think it's really, it's getting harder and harder. And so I think that's just fantastic.
Awesome. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your insights and personal connections and wandering by the backstage of the Warped Tour to hear Blink-182 anecdotes.
Yes, I'm just so glad that we had so much to talk about, despite the fact that I could not tell you a single one of this band's songs. I know that, like, Mark Hoppus is into aliens, right?
No, it's the other one. The other one. Tom's
the other one, and he is gone now.
Yeah, he's gone. So
He's
Matt's
like
taken
he's like
his
an
place.
alien hunter.
Yeah, exactly.
So Matt took his place.
Yeah.
The other one was married to someone who was on TMZ all the time and got in a plane crash.
Yeah, that's Travis.
But he lived.
Yes.
And then he came back, and he was also on Cribs, and, like, rappers are into him. This is literally, I've told you everything I know.
That's it, though. You hit all the key points. Like, you're basically ready to co-host this podcast.
All right, guys. I'm going to give you a call next week.
Awesome.
Next week, you can tell me everything I don't know.
Yeah, well, there's not a lot. You've basically got it. You're good.
All right, great. So expertise. I'll just put it in my Twitter bio.